So yes, everyone gave me good answers of why they need to know the time. The common ones were that we need to know the time in order to schedule our day. Without time, there will be difficulty in knowing where we need to be in that time. If we take example from our classes only, like we're having online classes right now, if you're just told that when the sun is at its peak, you have your history class. So that will be difficult for you to understand or for you to denote the time of when exactly do you have a class. So if you know that okay 12:40 you have a class, that is obviously easier for you to understand and for you to join in at that moment. All right. So time is all right. So as Jaima read, uh, people in the past needed to know time just like we need to know time nowadays. These days, obviously, we cannot even think of doing anything without knowing the time. Everything is calculated. Likewise, people in the old age as well needed to know the time. They needed to know the date so that they can have a much proper reference of what uh, needs to be done and what was done when. So, as it says in the book, that when my grandmother was a child, this was not a very proper identification of what time it was, because obviously everyone's grandmothers would have been of different ages. They're obviously not the same. And once people grow older, the time heads backwards. And when it used to head backwards, obviously these dates began to get blurry. There wasn't proper identification. So to measure to measure dates before Christ was born, it was called BC, which is before Christ, and after the birth, it was known. The time was the dates were measured in AD, that is Anno Domini, which means in it's a Latin word in Anno Domini, which means the year of our Lord. So then we have a Muslim timeline as well, which is from Hijra, which occurred in 622 AD according to the Christian calendar. So we have AH, which is Al Hijra, and the Islamic calendars are based on the movements of the moon, whereas the Christian calendars are based on the movements of the sun. All right. All right. Now these are the four questions that we have to do. We'll start them. We'll start doing them right now, and then the remaining ones you do at home. The first question, what were the different methods to measure time in the old age? We've discussed these during class, and these are also there in your book. Then the three different types of calendars. Also, we've done to name. I'll give you hints: BC, AD, and AH. Then the movements on which the Islamic and Christian calendars are based on, obviously the movements of the sun and the moon. But which calendar is based on which movement, you have to write down. Then the fourth question is describe one incident from your life which taught you a lesson. How will you avoid repeating the mistake? Remember in the last class we did in that history is interesting. Why? Because we learned from the past. And in learning from the past, we said that uh, the people nowadays learn from the mistakes that people in have made in the past, the killings, the tortures that were done. So that this is something that we learn from history of the world. Okay, I want you people to think of one incident from your life which you learned a lesson, and you decided that this is something that I've learned from my life and I will not repeat this mistake again. All right. So these are the four